Take a second, just one moment, and remind yourself of something powerful. You are the only person who truly knows your worth. Not your boss, not your friends, not strangers online. Only you. And the moment you begin to believe in that truth, something incredible starts to happen. The world follows your lead. You see, the energy you carry speaks before you do. When you project confidence, people treat you as someone worthy of respect. But when you're constantly doubting yourself, anxiously watching how others perceive you, they sense that too. Confidence isn't about arrogance, it's about certainty. It's knowing you don't need applause to validate your steps. And confidence doesn't mean you never fail, never get rejected, or never make mistakes. It simply means you've learned that even when things go wrong, you'll be okay. When you trust yourself enough to handle anything, you stop fearing everything. And when fear has no grip on you, guess what? Nothing and no one can shake your peace. But here's the trap so many fall into: chasing approval. We do it unconsciously. We dress a certain way, speak a certain way, act a certain way, all in the hope that others will approve. But this habit, this constant pursuit of validation, is a dangerous game. Because the moment you rely on others to make you feel good, you hand them the power to break you. If they praise you, you feel high. If they ignore you, you question your value. If they criticize you, your self-worth takes a hit. You become a puppet on emotional strings, pulled this way and that by opinions that were never grounded in truth. But here's a liberating truth. What others think of you says more about them than it does about you. Everyone views you through the lens of their own insecurities, experiences, and beliefs. One person might think you're incredible, while another might find fault in everything you do. Who's right? Neither. Because opinions aren't facts, they're projection. We've been trained since childhood to seek approval. Gold stars, good grades, praise from parents or teachers. But at some point, you have to break free. You have to realize that living for approval is a losing game, because you will never please everyone. You could be the kindest, most generous soul, and someone will still criticize you. So why keep playing a rigged game? Why let your peace rest in someone else's hands? The moment you stop chasing validation, everything shifts. You begin to make decisions for yourself, not to impress others. You stop walking on eggshells. You stop overthinking every move. And ironically, that's when people respect you the most, when they see you don't need their approval to feel whole. True confidence is magnetic. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It just is. Now, does this mean you should ignore feedback entirely? Of course not. Growth requires reflection. But there's a difference between considering wise counsel and being addicted to approval. One will build you, the other will break you. You have to filter what you let in. If the feedback helps you improve, embrace it. But if it's just noise, let it go. Because here's the real power of releasing external validation. You become immune to manipulation. People can't guilt trip you, pressure you, or emotionally control you when their opinions no longer dictate your self-worth. You stop fearing rejection. You stop trying to prove yourself. And in that moment, you become free. This is your life, not your parents, not your friends, not society's, yours. So the question is, are you going to live it for yourself or for people who may not even remember your name tomorrow? Because once you answer that question, once you choose yourself, nothing and no one will ever bother you again. Perspective is everything. Two people can go through the exact same experience, but one walks away bitter, while the other remains calm. Why? Because one of them chose to shift their perspective. Your ability to reframe how you see the world is one of the greatest powers you possess. You can turn stress into opportunity, frustration into learning, and offense into indifference. But most people don't know they have that power. They live as if emotions happen to them, as if being upset is automatic when something goes wrong. But it's not. It's not the event. It's the meaning you give it. Take criticism, for example. Someone says something negative, and your instinct is to defend, to feel hurt, to argue. But what if you paused? What if you asked, is this helpful, or is this just noise? If it's feedback, grow. If it's nonsense, let it go. Either way, there's no reason to get angry. The same applies to people who test your patience. Rude, loud, negative. But instead of letting them drain your energy, what if you saw them as training tools? What if you said, this is my practice ground for peace? Then suddenly, they lose their power over you. And finally, how often do we waste energy on things that won't even matter a month from now? A rude comment, a mistake, a moment of embarrassment. We let it linger, affect our mood, rob us of joy. But ask yourself, is it worth your peace? When you learn to choose your thoughts the same way you choose your clothes in the morning, you begin to realize calm is a skill, peace is a habit, strength is a mindset. And those who master that mindset, they're unshakable. Ask yourself this, will this moment still matter a month from now? A year from now? If the answer is no, then why give it the power to steal your peace today? The truth is, when you learn to zoom out, to take a step back and see the bigger picture, you'll begin to recognize how most of the things that upset you are short-lived, small, and frankly, not worth your emotional investment. But here's where many of us get stuck. We believe our emotions are dictated by what other people do. Someone cuts us off in traffic, and we instantly say, they made me mad. A coworker makes a rude comment, and we say, she ruined my day. But let's get one thing straight. No one can ruin your day unless you hand them that power. Think about that. No one can make you feel anger, frustration, or irritation unless you allow it. They don't have that kind of power, not unless you give it to them. And once you fully understand that, you unlock a level of emotional strength that's unshakable. You become untouchable. Picture two people going through the same situation. One gets insulted and lets it go like water off a duck's back. The other stews over it for days. The difference isn't in the insult, it's in their reaction. One processed it through power, the other through pain. That's the real key. How you respond is always your choice. You might be thinking, but I can't help it. When someone disrespects me, I just explode. But let me challenge that. That's not a fact. It's a habit. And like any habit, it can be changed. Imagine this. Every time someone tries to push your buttons, instead of reacting immediately, you take a breath. Just 1 second. That tiny pause puts you back in control. In that moment, you decide, is this worth my energy? 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. Let's use an analogy. Suppose someone walks up to you and tries to hand you a gift, but you don't accept it. Who does the gift still belong to? Them, right? It's the same with negativity. If someone throws anger, bitterness, or insults your way, you don't have to accept them. You can leave them with the person who offered them. That's their baggage, not yours. Don't carry what was never meant for you. Now, don't misunderstand. This doesn't mean you allow others to walk all over you or tolerate disrespect. It simply means you don't let their bad behavior dictate your peace. You decide how far their words go. If they try to offend you and you stay unbothered, then who really lost? They did, because they failed to shake your spirit. Think about the strongest people you know. Are they the ones who yell and scream at every provocation? Or are they the ones who remain calm, composed, grounded, no matter what's thrown at them? True strength isn't about who can yell the loudest. It's about who can stay steady when everything around them is shaking. It's about controlling your emotions instead of letting your emotions control you. And here's where the real shift happens. When you stop letting little things bother you, people start losing control over you. That coworker who constantly pushes your buttons, the moment you stop reacting, they'll realize their game doesn't work anymore. That person who always criticizes you, once they see their words don't affect you, they'll either change or move on. Because the only power they ever had was the power you gave them. Here's a simple truth we often forget. You wouldn't get mad at a child for throwing a tantrum, would you? Why? Because you know they don't know better, so you don't take it personally. What if you approached difficult adults with the same mindset? What if you saw their negativity not as a reflection of you, but of them? You'd save yourself a lot of time, energy, and unnecessary battles. Because not every fight is worth your time. Not every opinion deserves your attention. When you finally understand that you, not your boss, not your friends, not people on the internet, are in charge of your emotions, life becomes a lot lighter, a lot more peaceful, and you become a lot harder to shake. Confidence is like armor. When you're secure in who you are, the words and actions of others bounce off. But without it, every little thing feels like an attack. That's why some people seem so easily offended. Always on edge, always interpreting things as personal slights. It's not because the world is out to get them, it's because deep down, they're unsure of themselves. But when you know who you are, when you've built trust with yourself, when you've taken the time to own your value, then nothing anyone says can shake you. Here's a question worth asking yourself. When someone's words get under your skin, why does it bother you? Is it because what they said was actually true? Or because some part of you fears that it might be? Because here's the reality. Words only hurt when they hit a wound. You could call a lion weak all day long, and it wouldn't flinch. Why? Because the lion knows what it is. It doesn't need your validation. But call an insecure person weak, and they'll get defensive. Not because you were right, but because they're unsure of who they really are. Ever notice how some people always seem angry, defensive, or on edge? Not because they're truly weak, but because deep down, they haven't yet convinced themselves that they're strong. That's the heart of it. Confidence isn't about appearing fearless. It's about being so secure in who you are that you no longer need outside permission to feel valuable. When you believe in yourself, something powerful happens. You stop chasing approval like it's oxygen. You stop depending on compliments to feel seen. You don't need people to like you. You don't need to be invited. When you learn to laugh at what was designed to wound you, you take the sting away. When you stop feeding nonsense with your attention, it starves. And if someone tries to bring you down, don't argue, don't fight, smile, move on. This doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It doesn't mean you ignore serious issues or avoid healthy confrontation. It simply means you don't waste your energy on what doesn't deserve it. Because, and let this sink in, most people who try to upset you aren't doing it because of you. They're doing it because of themselves. They're unhappy, insecure, or just craving attention. And the moment you react, you give them exactly what they wanted. You hand them your power. But when you don't react, when you stay calm, grounded, unshaken, you win every single time. They lose their grip. Their attempts to control you crumble. And finally, let's talk about indifference. If humor is your shield, indifference is your armor. When you reach a point where other people's negativity doesn't even register on your radar, when you don't feel the need to clap back or defend your worth, you become unshakable. That's the power of inner stillness. That's the quiet strength of someone who knows exactly who they are. Real strength isn't always loud. It's not about always having the last word or jumping into every battle. Sometimes, real strength is knowing when not to engage, when to preserve your peace instead of proving your point. You see, some people misunderstand this. They think walking away from conflict is weakness, that silence means surrender. But it's not weakness. It's wisdom. It's control. It's the quiet decision to protect your energy, to value your inner calm more than a temporary moment of pride. Because here's the truth. Not everything deserves your reaction. Not every insult needs a comeback. Not every disagreement is worth your breath. And certainly, not every person who tries to push your buttons deserves the satisfaction of seeing you flinch. There's power in restraint, power in smiling, shrugging it off, and walking away. Not because you couldn't clap back, but because you've grown past the need to. Your energy is precious. Spend it wisely. Invest it in things that build your character, not drain your spirit. In things that move you forward, not drag you into petty circles. Every reaction you give away is a piece of your peace. Don't give it to people who haven't earned it. So the next time someone tries to bait you into conflict, remember this. Their goal isn't truth, it's attention. And when you refuse to play their game, they lose their grip. You rise above it, untouched and unbothered. Some people equate strength with dominance, always needing to win, to be right, to speak louder than everyone else in the room. But true strength? It's much quieter. It's measured not by how many arguments you win, but by how many you walk away from, with your peace intact. The strongest people in the room aren't the ones shouting. They're the ones who know when to stay silent, when to conserve their energy, when to protect their mental clarity by simply letting things go. The need to be right. That's one of the greatest traps we fall into. It's seductive. It pulls us into debates, drags us into endless back and forths. And before we know it, we've wasted an hour, damaged a relationship, and lost our peace. All for what? To win a point? Think about it. How many arguments have you witnessed where no one really wins? Both sides leave drained, defensive, and frustrated. All over something that likely won't matter in a week, let alone a lifetime. Even if you win the debate, what do you really gain? A bruised connection? A bitter memory? Victory isn't always worth the cost. That's not wisdom. That's ego. And here's the deeper truth. Letting go doesn't make you weak. It makes you focused. It shows you've learned to prioritize your peace over your pride. That you value your time, your energy, your emotional well-being far more than the fleeting satisfaction of being right. Some people argue just to argue. They're not seeking truth. They're seeking attention, reaction, control. No amount of logic, no flood of facts will change their mind. So why waste your breath? The best response in those moments? No response at all. When you refuse to engage in negativity, you strip it of its power. When you stop reacting, the drama disappears. Arguments only live as long as you keep feeding them. Starve them of your energy, and they die out. People can only disturb your peace if you open the door. But the moment you decide that your inner world is sacred, that your energy isn't up for grabs, everything changes. It takes maturity to stay silent when your ego wants to explode. It takes wisdom to walk away when your pride is itching to stay and fight. But the reward, it's worth it. The reward is freedom. The freedom to go through life unshaken, to rise above the noise, to respond with peace instead of anger. Not because you're ignoring reality, but because you've learned what's worth your attention and what's not. So next time someone pulls you toward conflict, pause. Ask yourself, if I engage, what do I actually gain? Will it bring clarity? Will it bring peace? Will it move you forward? Most of the time, the answer will be no. No peace, no growth, no meaningful change, just wasted time and misplaced energy. But when you choose to walk away, when you decide your mental health is more valuable than your pride, you win something far more important: control over yourself. And when you gain that, no one can take it from you. No argument can shake it. No insult can touch it. You become unshakable, untouchable, free.